All right, welcome to the Good Rookie Show. My name's Fahim.
And my name is Nellie J, y'all, and we are good
That's
bookies.
right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's the Good Rookie Show.
Yep.
That's correct, y'all. We have an amazing guest gonna drop a lot of knowledge. All you fantasy NBA holders, all y'all banking on your teams. He might break your hearts today. Fahim, please introduce who we got.
All right, so we have a return guest, not once, not
Not
twice.
twice.
This is a third time.
Three times.
All right. Three-peat.
Eat.
For those who listened before and understand what he brings, you're gonna be educated. Anyone who's a first time with our guest tonight, get ready. Let's welcome Dr. Joel Kerr to the podcast today.
Dr. J. Hey.
Yeah.
Dr. J, how are you, man?
Now that's an introduction. Wow. I'm blessed. Thank you so much to the both of you. I love being on here with you. It's my annual touch base with you to make sure everyone's doing all right. Talking sports injuries, of course, management, all that good stuff. I'm very, very proud of you both for continuing the consistency. The both of you inspire me very much. So thank you for having me as a guest, and thank you for the inspiration.
Oh man, Black History
right.
Month. We're starting off right for him. I like this.
Right.
But you know what? You're someone who inspires us a lot. You know, a
Yep.
founder. We're gonna get into a lot of what you do for the culture for sure. But Fahim, let's pick Dr. J's brain a little bit. We have a few players that you picked, Fahim, that I think you want some insight and some actual information around why they always hurt. Go ahead, Fahim.
So first of all, before we get into the three that we have this time, last time we talked about, I think maybe the first time, we talked about Klay Thompson when he was out for a while. We had a little revisit of it, and here we are now. I just wonder, before we get into the past ones, with Klay, what's your take of Klay right now, present day?
I'm impressed with number one. I am impressed with the time that he took to recover.
Okay.
And it's very interesting that we watch professional sport and people want to emulate professional athletes, but they don't take the same steps that they do to prepare their body to compete. Most people are in a rush thing. They get injured and they feel like they'll be back in 2 days, 3 days, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. But the body doesn't work that way. And the resources that these athletes have also are not available to most people. So if you sustain an injury similar to Klay, not just one injury, but two, and you want to return to play in 8 months, 6 months, that's not going to happen. This young man had two serious injuries, one after the other. As he was recovering from one, the ACL initially, he ended up tearing his Achilles, which is a far more devastating injury to an athlete that requires to jump, run, stop, change directions at a fast pace.
Yeah.
So all the pressure or the words, I'm speaking specifically of Barkley, who was saying that he wasn't the same player. Darn right, he wasn't the same player. He was still learning how to use his body after this injury, and his body's he's never going to be the same player. He's going to have flashes. He's going to have moments. But I'm actually beyond impressed with him respecting the time that was required. I don't know if it was the medical staff that put it in his head or as it was just him and his circle, but all kudos to him. All kudos to Jamal Murray. All kudos to Kawhi Leonard. All of these young men, all of these athletes that take the time that their body needs to recover and get back to where they're at. I applaud that. I know the fantasy fans and I know the overzealous fans, they're like, oh, just play. You got to play through it. And we got to look back at the 80s, and they played like, listen, back in the 80s, those guys also did cocaine before the games. Do we want that happening again? Absolutely not.
Man.
Different story. You know ball, and you've been around basketball a long time. You know that the NBA that's what it was about back then. We're not doing that anymore.
Right. So actually, let's get caught up now to the three that we have up to today's date. We'll start with someone that Nelly J likes to refer to as street clothes.
Not just me. I think a lot of people do. Isn't it from Charles Barkley? But he's always in street clothes, man. I can't.
Yeah.
Always, every year.
That's the truth.
That is the truth. Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis. Well, interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys remember that I also do some content where I talk about sports injuries.
Yes.
I call it the injury report. And I was doing some preliminary research about Mr. Davis, aka Street Clothes. And when I was doing my research, oh my goodness, I found a site that lists all the injuries of athletes. And I was scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Never ending story, you're saying?
Yep. My thumb, I almost got injured while I was scrolling. But there was a long list of injuries that this young man sustained. And this most recent, the second one, most recent one, was the most absurd. The one where he was in the air and got his foot tangled with Jokic. That one was mind-boggling to me because I've never seen anything like that. I have never seen anything like that. But I'm going to try to explain it. So here we go. So this was the foot in a very loose position. When the foot is in the air like this, there isn't any muscles contracting to hold structures together. So it was loose. Jokic's leg here went like that, and it flicked the foot. So as a result of that, it basically sprained in the air. So he sprained his
I'm laughing because it's so weird.
I've never seen anything like this before. Right? So that happened. And then 7 days ago, against the Spurs, he tried a half-court shot for who knows what. They had two guys trying to close out. Yes, granted that the guy closing out, I don't even know the player's name. Granted, he closed out in a dangerous manner, meaning that he didn't give AD any space to come down. And this happens to every basketball player. And he stepped on his foot and he inverted his foot. That is a real injury. That everyone who's ever played ball, that's happened before. But man, for him to happen after he came back from the previous air injury, it's just unlucky. Like he's not making any case for himself because he's so injured so often, and it's always this time of year that he gets injured.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask about that. Is there like any correlation? Is it like maybe he should train a lot less in the summertime? Maybe he should train more. Is it stretching? Like what kind of player do that's always like that? Or there's no hope. This is just who he is, and we just have to not draft him in our fantasy teams.
Well, that's a great question, comment. And obviously, we don't know the ins and outs of Anthony Davis's off season. I've searched the internet to find out if there's any videos or clips of him doing any off-season work, and there really isn't any. And that might be it. He's not doing enough. But let's talk about genetics and structure. He is over 7 foot, okay? And as a result of that, there is a lot of research behind the fact that people who are 7 feet, they have issues with their feet long-term, structurally. And there's a lot of weight on that foot that he has to be able to manage. And at the end of the day, the body can communicate to us. When we are in pain, that's when the body is saying, hey, you know what? I can't manage this stress. I don't want to do this activity. So I'm just going to, quote unquote, break down. And I feel like that is what's happening with most 7 footers. If you look back in history, Rick Smits, Todd McCullough, Chet Holmgren, all of these 7 foot guys, they've all sustained, Joel Embiid, who we're going to talk about shortly, they've all sustained foot injuries. And you can go through the plethora of 7 footers who don't last very long in the league because of the fact that structurally their body cannot manage the rigors of the game. But, and I'm just going to say this in a strong but, there are things that they can do. There are things that they could do to strengthen their foot. And I believe, without knowing Anthony Davis personally, not without working with him personally, I feel like he's not doing enough to build his base. And I'm just going to drop a little gem of a note there, because that's something that I personally am working on right now with my partner, with my business partner, where we're looking to create a program to help athletes recognize how important their feet are. As at the end of the day, you play any sport that requires you to change space, pace, pivot, you need your feet. You need the structure of your feet, and you need to build an athletic structure for exercise, and that starts with your feet.
There's somebody in their retirement that I heard had issues with his feet. It's Dirk Nowitzki. Remember when they put a statue up with him, and he's kind of, or it's the top 75, one of them. He's kind of limping very gingerly, and he was saying that now in his post career, he's having problems even walking with his kids and stuff. So that speaks true to what you're mentioning there, Dr. J.
Absolutely. And again, he's a 7-footer as well.
Yep.
Ooh, so guys drafting 7-footers, just be aware they're playing probably 50 games or less. Who we got next week?
Joel Embiid. You just kind of touched upon him. Anything else on Joel Embiid?
Well, it's. I'm just going to echo the same message. He came in his rookie year and he had foot issues. He didn't play his entire rookie year as a result. They were patient with him, and it just boggles my mind that we are at that level within the league, and we don't have enough sports scientists, trainers, doctors that are addressing these issues. And I guess it's because it's not a sexy thing to do. Nobody says, hey, I'm going to go to the gym and work on my feet. Nobody does that. So,
Dr. J, question for you, because with AD and Embiid, I've heard this from fans and other people. I want your thoughts on it. I heard that Embiid is overweight. He's like, when he came in the league, he was a bit more slimmer, a bit more of a different build. Now he's kind of bulky, and he's not overweight, but he's overweight for playing basketball with his height. And I also heard AD, both of these players are also a bit overweight for their optimal size. Can you touch on that and let me know is that true that their weight could be a factor into their performance and injury history?
It wouldn't be anything. It obviously it can contribute. I'm just going to try to look up how much these guys weigh as we're talking here, because I would like to know. I don't even know what they weigh right now. What are they listed at?
Yeah,
so let's check that.
Yeah, check that out for me, because I've heard from other players and guys who develop other players talk about their concern with them is that they don't think they're at the optimal size, because when Joel came in the league, he was a bit different build, as well as AD, right? And now they're millionaires, make a lot of money, lifestyle changes, dieting. So their concern was just like their weight kind of thing.
So right now they list him at, this is Anthony Davis, at 253 pounds. Okay, so that's 150.
That doesn't seem to be too bad, would you say, Dr. J? For his size, 250?
But listen, most times with these stats, they're lying.
Yeah, they're lying.
Right.
Yeah. He's more than that. If you look at him, Fahim, that man has a little belly, like a little belly. I see it. Okay. A little belly still.
This man's enjoying the rich life.
Yep.
Right? So that's Davis. So let's see what they're listing Embiid at. And I think Embiid definitely is looking a lot heavier.
Yeah, I would guess. I'd take a guess of 270. If AD's 250 some odd, I'm gonna go with Embiid's got to be 280.
Yep, that's correct. 280.
Wow, he's 280.
Yeah. 280. Right. So to answer your question, there is a possibility that weight can play a part in this. You're jumping up, you're coming down, you're coming down on 26 bones. 26 bones that are small, some are long, and then you're coming down on ligaments and coming down on muscles. All of those things have a certain amount of stress that they can manage. And if you're not actively engaging those structures to build a sense of tolerance, what do you think is going to happen? The tissue at some point is going to say, I've had enough. I really have had enough. And I really don't like thinking about weight and injury, because there isn't enough research pointing us in a direction to say, when you are overweight, you are going to be injured. A lot of people think it. There may be some correlations, But I really do believe that if these young men are taking an active role on building their base and getting their overall structure more supported for the rigors of the game, these injuries shouldn't be happening.
Mm-hmm.
They have too many resources for this, is what I'm saying.
So, Dr. J, you talked about them jumping up and down the weight. Also, think about it, basketball, it's a game of pivots, cuts, like even just those little jabs here and there, those, I guess, those quick stop motions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of force momentum that's hitting those same joints, ligaments also. So that makes sense.
Yeah, acceleration and deceleration.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the types of injuries that can happen. We're looking at most recent injuries that there's no contact. They are usually what we call deceleration type injuries, where the body is slowing down and the tissue that is required to slow the body down cannot absorb that force. And as a result, rip, tear, crack, injury.
So that leads to our last one. We have OG Anunoby, Toronto Raptors. Mm-hmm. He most recently had an injury where he landed on his arm or his hand. You can give us the details of it. But before that, he actually had that non-contact injury that you were just speaking about. Maybe I'd probably say a week or two earlier, where he was running. It was a non-contact. I don't even think he stopped. I think while he was in motion, and he ended up going to the locker room. They ended up saying that it wasn't, I guess, anything major. He continued playing, but it was very much a non-contact situation, like you mentioned. So if you want to give us something on OG real quick.
Yeah, OG is, again, another athlete that I was planning on doing our injury report on, most recently with the wrist. But with him, he has sustained this hip injury in the past. And I think it was either the first or the second time that I was on that he was injured again.
Right.
So I went to that website and wanted to get some information about injuries, his injury. And again, I was scrolling, getting my thumb all sore because he's had a plethora of injuries as well. That's one of my favorite words to describe injuries, by the way, plethora. Got that from my man, Marv Albert. Shout out Marv Albert. I know you're paying attention to this podcast. You should be if you're not. But with that injury, it looked like it was a non-contact, meaning that he was just trying to accelerate. And as he was trying to accelerate, the tissue was just saying, hey, you know what? I can't do this. Maybe he didn't stretch, warm up. Maybe he wasn't hydrated. There could be so many different
things. The Puff Daddy.
Yeah, literally the body said, no, we're not doing this. That's enough for you. But he was able to sustain the game, come back to the game and play. With regards to this most recent injury, that's just trauma. Okay, like he was accelerating, trying to go to the hoop. He met somebody at the rim that said, nope, you're not dunking this. Blocked the shot. And it was very scary to watch. I'm not sure if you both saw it, but initially it looked like his shoulder was dislocated. It looked like his elbow was dislocated. It looked like he broke his forearm, the little bones down here. It just looked bad. But thank goodness it was just his wrist. What are we thinking that could be injured? There's about 8 bones in the wrist that make up the wrist. We call them carpal bones. I guess I remember the acronym to remember them. It is some lovers try positions that they can't handle. But yeah, that's literally what it stands for.
In my head, I'm like, I'm going through
that they can't handle. Yes,
I'll send you an image of the wrist bones. You can put it out on your content. Yeah. But we want to make sure that it's not the S, which is the scaphoid. That's the biggest bone that sits right here on the radial side of the wrist. We don't want that wrist bone to be injured because it does not get a good blood supply. So if it is injured, if it is broken, for example, it could cause what we call AVN or avascular necrosis, which basically means the bone dies.
Wow.
Right now, initial imagings indicate that there is no fracture, and we're looking at some soft tissue injury, which is just a sprain of some of the tissue here in the wrist. I suspect that he fell like this, all his weight behind him like that. So we got to suspect that there's some tissue damage on the front and maybe on the back, but there's no bone damage, which is really good.
Just something real quick. You just mentioned the bone dies. I've never heard that term before. If the body's living, but the bone dies, explain that to me, because I've never heard that.
So like I said, that bone is called the scaphoid bone.
Mm-hmm.
It has a poor blood supply, which basically means every structure in our body has arteries and veins that supply the tissue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But for some strange reason, you can talk to God when you meet him or her, that area does not have a good supply of arteries in that area. So if it gets broken, the way that it's going to heal is by getting nutrients, oxygen, blood to the area.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't have that structure, that basis, the tissue, the bone tissue, will what we call will suffer from a necrosis. Necrosis is just a fancy term for death of the bone tissue.
Yeah.
And that's how that happens.
So does the bone dying mean it's decaying?
Yeah, pretty much.
And once it starts to decay, then I guess it become brittle, and can break very easily. Or like, what's the next step after decaying? Like this, I'm asking.
What they would do is surgically repair it, put it together.
Oh,
okay.
But again, we are lucky, or so far, the preliminary findings are there is no fracture of any bone in that area for him, which is good.
It's good to hear, because he's on my fantasy team. So
yeah,
it's good to know that I won't drop him then. At least he'll play another couple years of basketball.
until he gets traded. So the rumor says.
Oh man, these damn rumors. Always everywhere. But no, it's a good breakdown. I think OG, AD, Joel Embiid, there's quite a few others. But I'm happy you touched on the 7-footer situation, because we have a couple of 7-footers coming in. Well, quite a few are playing in the NBA right now. But more coming in, Victor, right? The big ticket. And the questions around him, if you draft him, how long will he last? So I'm curious to see, because we know Kevin Durant, he's played a long career, really has gotten injured as much as other players had, but but to your point, he's very slim, right? He's not as heavy. So when he jumps up and down, he's not the foot injury isn't as bad for him. So who knows? Maybe Victor won't have the same luck as AD or Embiid, hopefully.
Well, the interesting thing about Victor is I have Googled and looked at some of his training regimen, and I'm actually pleased to see some of the stuff that he's doing. And it's an exercise protocol called Animal Flow, which is a ground-based movement that really focuses on strengthening the core and mobility in the wrists and the ankles and the knees and the hips. So what's really awesome about this training protocol, and specific for basketball, is everything that a basketball player wants to do starts in this area, from the hips up to their like people like to call it the core. And if you have a strong core, you're able to go up into the hoop. Someone is going to provide you with some contact, but you can finish through it, right? Or you can change directions. In my humble opinion, the strongest guy in the NBA right now is Kyrie Irving. Because if you think about the stuff that he can do for his size, he's able to stay so low to the ground, change directions with such speed and accuracy. The finishes around the rim, they're impressive. And they are impressive because of his strength that he has within his core, his lumbopelvic region, which is a fancy term to describe it. So the workouts that Victor is doing for his long frame, I believe that he will be able to sustain the rigors of the game if he continues doing these things. And obviously, just going back to my earlier point, if he has people that are working on his base, his feet, making sure that they're stiff, strong, and mobile.
Mic drop.
I like it. Right. Yeah. So two things real quick with KD. I remember when we had the conversation, I was a little leery about his return. Since he's been back, you almost forget that he was injured like that. Like, he's playing at a very high level. So I just want to shout out KD for that. And also what you just mentioned about Victor. That's one of the things coming in. I was like, oh, well, you know what? He's a 7-footer, a little bit. But now you mentioning that, just the fact that he's proactively, looking after his career for the long term, that's great news to see. Also, though, keep in mind, he's a young player. So that means he's going to put on like grown man weight. You know what I'm saying? As he gets bigger. So, I mean, as long as he can maintain that regimen along with, I guess, the weight he's putting on, I don't see why, maybe there is not much to worry about with him. Yeah.
Hopefully. And just to contrast back to what we were talking about with regards to AD, if you look at AD's body and you look at his body when he was in college, tell me the difference. There wasn't much.
Well, I feel like he was slimmer in college. Was he a bit more lean? A little bit more leaner? I think. But, like even like his face, like when he first came to the league, like his face was a bit smaller. Like he was slimmer. He wasn't. I feel like now he's he's a bit heavier. He's not overweight, but he has more muscle now. But like he's not as slim as he was right after college.
Would you say it's muscle or mass?
Mass. That's true.
I think he's more mass than
more
muscle.
Mass. Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely not muscle.
Oh man, tough crowd out here, yo. Tough crowd. You know what I'm saying? Big up to all the thickers out here. You know what I mean? Big up to all y'all. Enough love to y'all.
But it just boggles my mind to know that this is their job. Their job is to work out. Their job is to be able to play this game at a high level. And I just don't personally understand why that isn't the focus. It is very, very clear that this young man is not putting in the work.
So I agree with you, Dr. J, but okay, I just want to say this real quick. When you say you go for a job, you wear your best suit, you put your best foot forward, and then you get in the job and you're excited for the job for the first few weeks, few months. Then after, when you get comfortable, you kind of put your foot up. You're not the same type of employee you were when you started the job. With AD, I think he kind of has natural ability to coast through. And like not everyone has that mentality of, like, say, a Kobe Bryant, where they're just looking to actually, I think AD knows he's good enough just by just coasting through. So I agree with you. They should be. But in a way, I can understand where maybe people don't have the love of the game. It's a lot harder to maintain that over years and years and years of service.
That's fair. It's a fair assessment, fair observation. But I just don't get it.
Yeah.
They make me a 7-footer. They make me allowed to be able to play basketball. I'm in the gym every day.
You're right. Right.
Yeah.
I want to work on my craft.
It's also probably a mindset, right? Like you mentioned that, Fahim. Like, I think there's some guys who have a mindset, like KD's always in shape. I've never seen KD not in shape. He eats healthy. He might, bun a little ting. Go for you, KD. But he's always healthy. He's always healthy, right? He's always in shape. And Kyrie, like, certain guys are always in shape, always ready. But it's a lifestyle, right? I always say this, working out is a lifestyle. You can get paid to be an athlete, but there's a lifestyle to, like, live a healthy life and to work out and work on your body. There's like LeBron James, Tom Brady's, these guys who are like, they work, like, their body is their temple. And the other guys who, like Ant-Man, love him, who eats hot Cheetos every day.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So, like, it's me.
This man said he ate 21 bags of that nonsense every day or once a week?
Yo, I don't even know, bro.
I can't remember what it was, but it was
Ant-Man likes hot Cheetos, and I was like, okay. So again, everyone's just really different. It's a lifestyle.
What? I need to Google that right now too. My goodness.
Oh man!
All right,
hot Cheetos, man.
Hot Cheetos. I wonder if they need a spokesman.
They better.
But that's the same thing. That's the same thing that happened with what man named Derrick Rose.
Oh, really? I didn't know about Derrick
Rose. When he was at his peak, he came out and said, "Listen, I eat X amount of bags of Skittles before every game." To the point where Skittles reached out to him and gave him a Skittles machine.
Oh Lord!
What?
So they gave him a Skittles machine for his house because he eats a lot of Skittles.
For his own home.
Wow.
And everybody knows what happened to this young man's career.
And this was before his injury?
This was before his injury.
I'm laughing because it's a bad correlation. So yeah, Ant-Man eats 21 bags of hot Cheetos a week.
21 bags a week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A week. So yeah, so it's a lifestyle, guys. It's not for everybody.
Wow. He's no longer on the college campus anymore. He needs to wake up real quick.
Yep.
Alrighty.
I just want to know what are the ingredients in a hot Cheetos bag? Woo.
Hot Cheetos, let's look it up. I mean, we're already down the rabbit hole for him. Sorry, guys. Hey, we're on a rabbit hole of hot Cheetos. If you eat it, you know what I'm saying? Look in the mirror and I think long and hard. You know what I'm saying?
Thing is, he can burn it off, though. Let's be real, though.
Yeah, but I mean, after a while, like your body only takes so much of an ingredient, right?
Right.
So 21 of that can't last. It must be a phase. You know what I'm saying? It must be a phase.
Right.
Well, maybe he's literally trying to get a sponsorship. Who knows?
Flaming hot.
Wow,
oh my goodness. Well, they're $2.19 Canadian. And shoot, I'm trying to give them. So I see they're 90 gram serving.
I got it right now, and I'll tell you right now, what jumps out at me is the artificial flavor, artificial color. Excuse me, the artificial color they have in there is red 40 lake, yellow 6 lake, yellow 6, yellow 5. You Google any one of those dyes, and guess what? They are correlated with cancer.
Cancer?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
The one that I'm seeing, it's funny because Canada has their own regulations versus America, but in the Canada one, I'm seeing enriched cornmeal. I see but I don't see the color. Oh, the one that I have just says color. Doesn't say what kind of color.
Maybe made that might be a.
They don't want you to know.
Yeah,
I know about that.
Right.
Color. Right. These bastards. Right. Okay. All right, guys.
All right. So, at this point, you know what, Nelly J, let's go to For the Culture.
For the Culture, we like to highlight individuals for the culture. And today we get to highlight Dr. Joel Kerr. That's you. We're so excited to have you back on the podcast. For the folks who don't know, he's the founder of the Health Institute. Okay. Founded 13 years back in 2010, Dr. J. Your baby is now growing, right? 13 is getting older. It's getting older. And for those who don't know, this facility, it's a wellness center, right? It really helps you, assist you with your life changes. You help athletes. You help my mom goes to your facility. Like, she loves you guys there. And so you guys have services like naturopathic medicine, chiropractic medicine, neurofunctional acupuncture. Say that 5 times. Dry needling, acupuncture, physiotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, rehabilitation, pre and post for surgical, and the animal flow you spoke about, where it's helping you kind of build those muscles, and of course, helping everyone with the nutrition.
Correct.
And other things you're doing, Dr. J. So walk the folks through. How's it going so far?
Well, that was a mouthful.
Yo, listen, neurofunctional acupuncture. I'm like, Lord. I mean, I know about your degree, but I'm like, that's a whole mouthful, bro. Like, whoo.
Say it 5 times.
Nah, I'm not doing anything today. Nah.
Well, why I founded it and where it is located is very deliberate. We can call it alternative therapy. We can call it preventative healthcare. There is a need, and there should be more of a push for this type of healthcare. You shouldn't be waiting till something happens and then you go to the doctor, because by that time it's too late. And the best way, I hope everyone is looking at me, I'm looking right at the camera. The best way for you to prevent illness, sickness, is to strengthen your body. What does strengthen your body means? It means, as is, strengthen your body through movement, and through cardiovascular fitness, and through your eating habits. That is it. Okay? If you are able to accept the challenge, you will notice that your everyday activities, things that you love to do, are going to be easier. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to be working out like an athlete. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to carve out some specific time in your day that you're moving your body. And I was just working on my podcast, interestingly enough, today, and we were looking at the fact that a sedentary lifestyle, like sitting down for 8 hours, is not good for your health. And most jobs, and now with the change for the past 2 years, most jobs people are sitting at home. So they're potentially sitting even longer than 8 hours. And that is detrimental to your health. And you can reverse the effects of sitting for this extended period of time by just going for a walk between 20 to 60 minutes a day.
Wow.
And that is something everybody can do. Everyone can walk. You cannot tell me you don't know how to walk. You can't tell me that. And obviously, those who are able-bodied to walk, this is who I'm referring to. And that's a blessing. And we should be maximizing the fact that you can walk, because there's some people who cannot. And they have to look at other means to be healthy. So if you're able-bodied and you have 2 feet and 2 legs that are healthy and you can walk, do it, because it will help with your long-term health. The message, that's my message. And I aimed to have practitioners that look like myself, coaches that look like myself in the space. Because most times when our people go into a healthcare space, they may not be given the same amount of respect, time, and attention that they need to better themselves. We don't just work with athletes. As you mentioned, your mom comes through, we have a good time. I switch up the music, make sure that here's a little her calypso, a little soca.
Soca, yes.
And she does what she needs to do. And she leaves always better than when she came in. And that is something that we really strive, because exercise is medicine. And that's something that is on the wall in the space, and we preach it, promote it. I just still haven't put no tat on my arm with it yet, but maybe down the road.
That's really dope. I think that even like your social media, you're always promoting like not even like your physical, but the mental, how those are connected, right?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we think, oh, we go to the gym, eat healthy, but your mental is not even prepared to take on that new journey, right? Walk us through, like, what are some things you recommend, especially now? Like, Dr. J, it is dark outside, okay? We wake up, it's dark, there's hardly any sun, the sun comes out for an hour. What do you recommend people going through these types of cold winter days that's dark all the time? Because sometimes it is hard to even want to go outside and go for a walk. So for someone who's like, I ain't going in that cold, Dr. J, it's too cold, what do you recommend that they could do at home? Anything simple you think?
The first thing is to find some music that will help bring up your mood. Yes, we live in Canada. Yes, we know it's cold. There is something that's real. It's called SAD. It's called seasonal affective disorder. It is real. Folks, vitamin D is something that we get from the sun, okay? And it has a physiological effect on our mood and the amount of hormones that get released that affect our mood. So when the sun isn't around, we have to supplement our vitamin D. And cheap plug on my part, I work with a supplement company that provides an excellent source for supplements. And vitamin D is something that I definitely encourage every single Canadian that is living here needs to supplement with, especially during the winter months. So that's number one, supplementation. Number two, you got to get up to catch the sun when it does come up. It does come up every day, by the way. The sun comes up every day. There are times that you see it, and there's sometimes that you don't. And the times that it's up, you should be trying to see it come up. It's actually stunning. It's beautiful. You can literally feel your energy come up with it. And during the winter months, it's usually coming up between 7:45 and 7:55. Check your local app to see when it comes up. But that's definitely two things that you should be trying to do. With regards to what you could do at home with movement, honestly, start with even doing a wall sit. Start with doing push-ups off the wall. Anything that you're physically able to do, try it. And if you're not comfortable, then that's where you may want to hire a coach, a fitness trainer. There's YouTube videos. There is podcasts. There's so many different resources now that can support you being healthier that there is literally no excuse.
No, I love that. And I think it's gonna be helpful. I think a lot of people do suffer with SAD, especially those of people with color. You know, we're not meant to be in cold countries, but we are here. And
Yes, you
so
are.
I definitely do think that it's something where we need vitamin D. I took it during the pandemic and it helped a lot. And I saw a
Good.
big difference in my winter approach. So yeah, I definitely recommend those to take vitamin D.
Good for you.
I did see that you were a speaker. So you went to U of T, right? I
Correct.
think one of the always top 2 or 3 schools or universities in the country of Canada. And
Yes.
you were honored to be a speaker at one of it was called the Reception for Scholars event
Correct.
by the kinesiology department. What was
Correct.
that like? You know, being able to kind of speak
Whew.
to those kids and kind of reflect on your journey from when you went there and now, you know, you're alum there, but like going back after so long. What was that like for you?
It was really dope. And it was dope for a couple of reasons. One, I'm looking to do a lot more speaking engagements. And I got inspired by an amazing speaker. Just before the pandemic, I was able to go to an event where President Obama was the guest speaker.
Oh, no way.
And
In
it
Toronto?
was
He was here?
in Toronto, right?
Wow.
And it was really inspirational. And just sitting in the same space, you see him on TV, you see him on the videos, and you know that he's charismatic. You know that he could um, speak to a crowd. Doesn't matter who's there, and it just made me realize that, you know what, I have a story as well. I'm not president. I have never been president, but I know that I have a story that can inspire other people. And it was from that moment where I said to myself that I want to get to a point where I am speaking on a podium and I'm being paid for my time. I know that he probably gets 7 figures for his speaking. I'm not anywhere near that, but that's where I want to get to. I want to get to the point where I'm being paid to speak. And I had the opportunity to go to the University of Toronto, and they invited me to come and speak at their scholars event. And I did fairly well in school, and it was recognized by the faculty and won a couple of awards. And the faculty definitely supported me through a difficult time in my last year. I don't even think I've ever told you this, but my older brother, he was involved in the game and he was murdered. He was murdered in my last year of university and just before my exams. And I don't know what I was thinking, really wasn't. It was an emotional time. I tried to go write my exams, and a professor at the faculty looked at me and said, "Nah, you're not doing this. You're not in the right space." I had all my exams exempt, and they really cared for me. Like it wasn't just, no, you don't have to do your exams, but even when I was walking through the halls, a professor would come up to me and be like, "Hey, how you doing? You want to go for a coffee? You want to have lunch?" They really treated me like a human. Like I wasn't just someone paying a tuition fee, collect money, and move on. And that's the reason why anytime they hit me up and say, "Listen, I need you to come through and talk," I don't even ask for any fees. I don't ask for anything. I'm there. So they really just helped. That moment just helped me build. I'm building my profile for speaking engagements, and I was so honored to be there. So that's what that was about.
Well, Dr. J Speaks. We'll definitely support that. Whatever have your promo or your video, we'll definitely make sure we repost it because yeah, you're definitely someone I think you're actually a really good speaker, but I
I
also think
appreciate that.
that you're engaging and you have a story to tell for sure. And
Yes,
I didn't even know about your brother. So, you know, my condolences. And
thank
it
you.
just shows that, you know, during that time they were there for you, which is really sweet. Like those kind of stories, you rarely hear about it. You hear about all the bad things, but never the moments when the faculty or teachers kind of have your back and support you. So that was really good. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow. Um, so Dr. J, let me ask about your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Please, you want to elaborate, let people know about your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think, Nelly, I think I talked to you about it. Maybe it's quite controversial. The title is called "Fat is the Enemy!" Exclamation point and question mark.
I love
And
it. That's a great
of
title.
course, I have to explain. Please, I don't want anybody sending me no angry DMs. But here's the thing. So, as you both mentioned, I am a clinician, manual therapist, and I studied neurofunctional acupuncture, which
Yeah.
is
Say it 5
acupuncture.
times. Say it 5 times.
Neurofunctional acupuncture. Neurofunctional acupuncture. Neurofunctional acupuncture.
See you. You looked at it 4 times. You failed. Told you it's hard, man. Raheem,
All
you're up
good.
next, Raheem. You're up next, Raheem. You're up next.
So while I was studying that, I took an advanced course, and the instructor for this course, he is an amazing, dynamic educator, but he's also, let's just be honest, an asshole. And part of the course was he had real live cases that would come in, and he would assess them, provide treatment. So at this point, there was an older gentleman, heavier set. He was dealing with a shoulder injury, and the young man, the instructor had him on the table, shirt off, listening to him, writing his notes, and then all of a sudden, he just threw his book down. And he was like, "You know what? This is pointless. We're not doing this. Your problem is you're fat. Your problem is you're fat. You need to go home and lose weight." In front of the class, I cringed for this man. But at that point, I was listening to him, and I was like, "Wait a second. What he was saying was right." And what he was saying was this: acupuncture, say, for example, this is the needle, right? And this is the skin. And below the skin, we have fat. If someone has a large amount of fat on their body, the needle is only going to go into the fat. It's not going to address the muscle tissue that needs to be treated. And as a result, that intervention of acupuncture will not provide the same amount of stimulus that it needs. Mm-hmm. Henceforth, fat is the enemy.
Oh, boy.
Right? And here's the interesting thing, funny enough, is when I first met my fiance and she came over to my house, like I was just working through the concept. I just got a big poster printed with the words "fat is the enemy." And just imagine she came into my house and saw that. And I deliberately left it there because I wanted to get her reaction. And she thought, and that's part of the podcast, the first episode, we talk about that encounter, that interpretation, like what does she think? Mm-hmm. And it's coming out. We're working on the fine tunes of it. The Instagram handle right now is FITE_podcast. And it's not just us talking about fat. We're looking at the stigmatization of it, the misconceptions of it. We could drop some knowledge about eating habits, exercise routines. It is something that is not talked about because there's so much misinformation about it. And we just came out of the pandemic, which was laced with misinformation. This is something that's been around a long time. And our goal is to change the narrative about it because there's a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. And that's what we're doing.
It's true. You guys also have to tackle a lot of these crazy fat reduction workouts and diets. Like, I would love to get your thoughts on, there's so many specialists on losing fat, and it's just, there's so many different theories. So yeah, that'd be really good for folks to learn and understand, okay, is this a gimmick or is this actually real? You know what I mean? Based off of science. So
absolutely.
That'd be great.
Absolutely. We're all it will all be based in evidence-based science. No theories, no personal ideas. We're going to really try to focus on the facts.
Yeah, that's dope.
Nice. So, well, once that drops, we'll be sure to put it on our socials and definitely promote that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely.
You're not only you educated, but you got personality. So I think I definitely I see where you're going with this, most definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. And the struggle for me at the beginning, sorry to cut you off the thing.
No,
the struggle for me at the beginning is I had this idea and I knew I couldn't do it by myself. And I knew I needed to have a female perspective. And the fact of the matter that my fiance is also a chiropractor as well. We also study neurofunctional acupuncture. We have a good, you know what I mean? Like we have a good chemistry.
Exactly.
You tell me, you know what I mean? Like it's just,
it's natural.
It's natural and it works perfectly. It would have been very disheartening if she came into the space, saw that, and never talked to me again because the podcast is going to happen and my happiness will be here. So it's a win-win situation.
Yes, it is a win-win. And that's the thing about it. No, we love supporting other podcasts because we know the work that goes behind it. We know the dedication. It takes time, it takes sacrifice and stuff. So yeah, I will definitely be promoting it. Cannot
You
wait till
should.
it comes out.
Hmm.
Okay. And hopefully one time we can have you both on the podcast. Once it comes out, you guys are comfortable, whatever. We can have you both come back on the podcast and talk about the show and
I'd
maybe
appreciate
any
that.
topics that we want to that correlates to our topics for sure.
Sounds good. And funny enough,
Awesome.
as we're talking, I'm hoping at some point, I would love if we could do this podcast at the Health Institute.
Ooh.
Little
Yeah, we're
excursion.
down. No, we're down. We gotta find a Hey, we'll make it happen, man. We'll make it happen for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That sounds like a great. That sounds like a deal. Sounds like a deal.
Yep.
Just make sure you guys bring your fitness clothes because we're gonna work out before or after.
No.
Hey, just make sure you have the soul cassette on my shell and catch the band. You understand? Okay.
There we go.
There we go. There we go.
All right. So let's close out with our last segment. That's absurd.
Oh,
That's absurd. Bro. What was absurd this week? What was absurd?
So this is an absurd that I think has to do with an overall. So
is already laughing.
In this year of 2023, where we have head injuries are at a premium right now in many different sports. There's a lot of knowledge in regards to, I guess, the layers behind head injuries. Dana White of the UFC, he started a league called the Power Slap League.
Wow.
Where they open hand slap each other.
Yo,
absurd.
Honestly,
Listen. Yo, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, okay. So I have questions. So
What's that?
Is it Dana White, the same guy that was caught slapping his wife on New Year's Eve? That's it, the same guy?
Yeah.
So he slapped his wife, refused to be reprimanded. He's like, what's the point? Right? I slapped her. You guys caught it. I have to live with that stigma forever. And then starts a slapping league? Guys, am I confused? Am I the only one confused here?
So listen, I just don't want to believe that they are correlated, but they most likely are. The man most likely sat down with his partner and said, listen, you know the league I'm going to start next month? How about this, honey? So to make sure that we make the most amount of money, let me slap you and let me get it on tape.
Wow.
Am I crazy even thinking that out loud?
No, it's just I you know what it's like I slap my wife and I'm gonna start a league and make money from guys slapping each other. Like, are we gonna slapping? I'm sorry, y'all. Happened. A backhand slap, like we're talking about, like, when who is it? Someone got spitted on. Someone got spit on by a fan or something. So no, it was Matt Barnes, right? He spit on his fiance's ex, right, at that game, which was also absurd, by the way. And I'm like, yo, what's worse, being spitted on or being slapped by somebody? And some folks were saying slap, some were saying spit on. I just think they're the same. They're equally atrocious things to be done to.
They're all disrespectful. And then let's bring some science involved with this. The science is this: we should not be wanting to receive a blow to our head.
Yes.
Like, there is no amount of money, fame, jewelry, celebrity status should make you want to sign up to have someone slap you in your head. What are we doing right now? It's 2 months into the year, and this is the nonsense people are doing. Can you imagine you going to your partner and say, or your mom, say, Mom, listen, you're going to see me on TV, and I'm going to be standing there, and someone's going to slap me until I'm unconscious. And no one's saying anything to you? What are we doing?
Right. So they've already had a round already. And let me just, so first of all,
let me say, okay.
The Power Slap League, they say it's similar to low-level brain damage, which could occur due to power slapping. Now, they've had they say right now, so it was end of January, so just 2 weeks ago. A slap fighter, they say he may never be the same after losing his memory to a knockout. And now it looks like let's see, I'm just gonna type this in here. It's one slap fighter, he's on a medical suspension. So remember, this is their first round of it, and you already have, first of all, the controversy of Dana White slapping his wife. You have your first round that you have, and someone is having memory loss, and another person is being suspended. Like, this is not. It's absolutely, it's completely absurd.
Absolutely absurd. Like, we're only guys. Well, it's February, it just began, and the absurdity of this year has hold no bars. This is like 2022. Hold my beer. 2023 here. Okay, we're gonna the absurd out of you this season. And I'm just like, you slapped your wife. You know people are looking at you side eye, and you think it's okay to have a power slapping league where we know concussions. Thanks, DeMar's doing okay. Hamlin, like, things are happening. Concussions. I read something where that, like, you can slap someone and break an artery in their neck because of the force. Like, you can actually kill someone, could die from a slapping competition if they're slapping with so much force. Okay, Dr. J, right? If I know I'm getting a slap, right? Can I really brace the slap that much? Or, like, if you're bracing a slap or getting slapped out of nowhere, I guess your muscles are being contracted. So is it like, it's absurd, but I'm questioning around the fact that, can bracing a slap help reduce the concussion of a slap? Or is it just bad all around?
Oh, no, nonsense. Absurdity, excuse me. There's no bracing. There's no bracing.
No bracing of the slap.
Just like wearing a helmet when you're playing football does no protection for your brain. What ends up happening, and I'm not sure if everyone understands what a concussion is. A concussion, if you were able to watch that movie with Will, concussion is like this. So this is my hand, okay? So I'm just going to take one part of my hand is representing a skull, okay? So let me take off the back end of the skull. My brain is inside here. So if I get hit, say on the pinky side, my brain's going to go this way, smash against this part, and then smash back against that part. And it could potentially just keep smashing back and forth because there's fluid in here. So how many times do you think that your brain should be hitting a hard surface? Zero.
Right.
No.
Right.
Not good. So there's no amount of bracing that you can do that's going to stop that repetitive trauma into your skull. So it's just, it's not even absurd anymore. It's just disgusting.
Right, I agree.
So
on the way out, let me ask this then. We just started 2023, and this is what we're starting with. Do you think that this league will make it through the year, or is it going to be a fad for 2023? Yes or no?
Well, for the amount of people that are begging to be famous, it's going to last because our integrity of humans is gone.
Clout.
It's
a hell of a drug.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And the likes, we're all about the likes and things that don't matter. So I can't see this being gone because people want the fame.
Right. How about you, Nelly J? You think it's going to make it out 2023?
Yeah, people are idiots, man. Of course. Like, listen, humans are like, we're dumb. Like, humans were so dumb. Like, we are so, like, if I'm an alien, right? And I want to abduct species, I would drive past Earth. I'm like, nah, they ain't worth it. These guys ain't quality for me. You understand? I would do a drive-by and have to pick one human being. We're so ghetto. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's terrible.
So I'm with you. I'm absolutely disgusted by this league, but you're right though. I think it's going to have a niche market and it's going to make money. As long as Dana White's behind it, he'll find a way to market and promote it. And I think, unfortunately, and I don't even want to get here, but if off the first run, they've had this kind of problems, death happens in all types of contact sports, right? I don't even know if death would actually stop this league, to tell you honest truth.
No, remember, humans we're barbaric, right? Like think about the gladiators of back in the day where people would die in the, you know what I mean? Like this is modern day gladiator type sport. So that makes it more exciting that someone could die from it. Like, remember back in the day, people would die from boxing matches. I think a couple of deaths happen from boxing,
or even
right?
kickboxing, even UFC people. Like, it rarely happens, but it happens, right?
It happens. So that kind of brings a thrill for some of the fans, right? That this person could die. That's why I'm watching it. We're dumb. For him. We are as humans.
Yeah.
So,
all right. On that note, let's put this episode in the books.
Yes, y'all. That was the Good Rookie Show. So, Dr. J, you know the deal. Please give us a shout out. You got it.
Definitely need to shout you both out. Like I said, I respect your consistency. That's something that I truly admire. I want to shout out Dr. Claire, who's my fiance, who's doing big things in her clinical practice. Right? And I just want to shout out anyone that is interested in getting themselves moving more. I have a monthly open house that I open up the space, the Health Institute. I call it For You, and it is an open, basically an open house, fitness open house. Every 4th of the month, the Health Institute is open for you to come and move your body.
Wonderful. So next one will be March 4th, and then April 4th. Okay, for everyone. Okay, great. That's awesome. So definitely think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Love it. Well, I want to shout you out, Dr. Claire.
Appreciate it.
Clinic, y'all take care of my mom. My mom's really happy. It's funny how I met you 2 years ago on this podcast. And then my mom I said, Mom, you know what? There's a doctor. I think you'd like to, go check him out. And now she's like, oh, Dr. J. I'm like, yo, he's your son. So I think it's great, networking. So guys, I can say I recommend Dr. J. If you guys want to get moving, get the actual support you need to be healthy, speak with someone that's from our culture that knows what you're going through in terms of our dieting. Dr. J is the one, okay? So please support. And Madison Scarborough. You know what I'm saying? Madison Scarborough.
And on the end.
In the end. My other shout out is to the WNBA. It's free agency. Candace Parker, y'all, is going to the Aces. We got Brianna Stewart going to the Liberty. And then today I saw Vantage Loops going to the Liberty. We're going to have amazing basketball coming out, y'all. So Aces versus Liberty is going to be much watched TV. Okay. So WNBA is going to be huge. Vantage Stewart and Brianna are both going to join Ionescu and Jonquel Jones. Like, listen, y'all, it's going to be wicked. It's going to be wicked. So, guys, I'm excited for the WNBA season coming up. So, please check them out. Support the WNBA. That's
absolutely.
Shout out.
Nice. My shout out, quick, Dr. J, shout out to you. And also Dr. Claire, also. Shout out to the entire movement. I'm really excited, actually, to hear about this podcast, especially coming from somebody who has a female counterpart also. I think the male-female, if the chemistry's right, it works. And, I don't know Dr. Claire, but I know you, and I know you have much to say. And if you co-sign that she's going to be good, that's all I need to hear. So, most definitely. All right, so let's put this episode in the books.
Guys, that was a Good Rookie Show. If you had a good time, if you felt educated, please like and subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend. For you.
We're on all platforms if you're looking for us. You know what it is. Dr. J, we appreciate you. It's a Good Rookie Show. And we out. Peace.